Hello! I'd like to welcome everyone to this very special event today on finally ending the pain and the frustration of chronic unresolved symptoms. And for those that don't already know me, this is Joe Barton. I'm the CEO of Barton Publishing. And the other gentleman that you see here in this video is Dr. Richard DeCenzo, who I'm going to introduce to you in just a moment. But first I want to share with you the extraordinary nature of this interview and tell you about some of the simple yet powerful discoveries that the medical and scientific community has brought to light and made available to chronic symptom sufferers who have been either ignored, misdiagnosed, or unresolved by their doctor and the traditional medical community. These are discoveries that have resulted in millions of people dramatically reducing and even eliminating symptoms that sufferers thought that they would have to live with, the pain or a compromised way of life, for the rest of their lives. One of those discoveries, which is the subject of this call, has been responsible for helping thousands of people, plus nearly 700 Barton Publishing subscribers, just within the last 6 months alone, to take control of and to get answers to why they feel the way they do, and completely end their reliance on prescription pills and needless procedures. That's why we know that it's one of the most proven and effective alternative approaches to chronic symptom detection and prevention that we've ever seen. And I'm excited to share it with you today. So before I introduce you to a gentleman that has been at the forefront of bringing some of these discoveries to market, let me tell you who this call is for. If you've been suffering from a chronic, unresolved, or undiagnosed symptom, or a series of symptoms such as inflammation, arthritis, acid reflux, high blood pressure, diabetes, uncontrollable weight gain, headaches, achy joints, low energy, back pain, irritable bowel, sleep disorder, fatigue, indigestion, or any other painful or life-compromising symptom, even cancer and Parkinson's, then we're going to show you why conventional medicine is missing the mark by only treating these symptoms and not identifying and treating the origin or the root cause of these symptoms. And if you're someone who is confused about why you're feeling any type of emotional imbalance such as anxiety or depression or fear or stress, or just lacking in motivation, we're going to end the confusion by showing you how these symptoms are warning signs that point to something else occurring in your biochemistry that can be identified and treated if caught in time. Or if you've ever been told by a medical doctor that we can't find anything wrong, or that we need to do more tests, or that your symptoms are normal, or that it's all in your head, well then this interview is going to finally end the frustration of having tried everything, seen everyone, and been everywhere with still no results. I will personally tell you that the pioneering work of my guest, Dr. Richard DeCenzo, has done in the field of chronic symptom detection and prevention over the past 30 years has not only changed the lives of thousands of people, but he's played a very significant role in my own personal health care and in my own journey toward living a long and healthy life. It's a real, genuine pleasure to introduce you all to Dr. Richard DeCenzo, the chronic disease expert and someone who has dedicated his entire 30-plus year career to the science of chronic symptoms, biological aging, and why you feel the way you do. He's known as Dr. D to the over 9,000 patients he's treated using a very distinct approach to solving what are typically unexplained and unresolved symptoms of chronic symptoms and disease that have plagued many of these people their entire life, and many that are now back to living the quality of life they've only dreamed of living without the use of drugs, surgery, and other needless procedures. Dr. D's contribution is supported by the hundreds of letters of gratitude that he's received over the years, many of them members of the Barton Publishing community. Dr. D, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you for that very warm introduction and for allowing me to not just support the community of people that you serve who experience any number of chronic unresolved symptoms, but also to support you personally in your own healthcare concerns and goals.
Yeah, before we get to the heart of the work that you've done to help so many people, tell us what you'd like listeners to remember as they walk away from this call today.
Well, Joe, I've been evaluating and treating people with chronic symptoms, many of which you listed above, for my entire 30-plus year career. And most of them have landed on my doorstep, completely discouraged, abused, or ignored by their doctors. And the approach that traditional medicine and the powerful pharmaceutical industry uses to evaluate and treat people who are suffering in some of their last stages of life even. These are people who have these low-grade chronic symptoms, but are the real warning signs that something else is really wrong with them. But they don't know what, and they don't know why. So I want your listeners to know that these symptoms that they are experiencing are very, very real, that they have a source, they have an origin in your biochemistry, way beyond what conventional lab work is able to detect at the surface. I want your listeners to know that the answers we typically hear from our doctors, like, we can't find out what's wrong, we have to run more tests, the symptoms are normal for your age, or it's all in your head, are no longer acceptable in a time in healthcare where patients are becoming proactive participants in their own healthcare concerns and making more informed choices. And in a time where simple, cost-effective technologies are going way beyond what traditional diagnostic lab work looks for in identifying why people continue to struggle. And by technologies, I mean simple tools, home-based tools that point to imbalances in a person's biochemistry and actually locate the source, the root cause of their symptoms.
Ah, that's excellent. So, why then does conventional medicine miss the mark? Why can't people truly find out what's causing these acute painful symptoms or the low-grade chronic undiagnosable symptoms? What's really at the heart of why we keep being treated with prescription pills and costly and needless procedures with often devastating side effects and no long-term visible results?
Well, here's why conventional medicine is missing the mark, Joe. Suppose you go to the doctor complaining of chronic and painful acid reflux. He or she is likely going to do all the things that he or she's been trained to look at and then give you a diagnosis of acid reflux after running the test that conventional medicine is trained to do. Then he or she will prescribe some of the prescription medications that are now available and put you on a restrictive diet as part of their standards of care. But the root cause of your acid reflux might be rooted in digestion. It could be rooted in elimination, or it could be hydration, or energy production, or even a nutrient deficiency causing your acid reflux. And your doctor has completely missed the mark. Now, with this methodology of treating the symptom of acid reflux and not the root cause, your doctor assumes that acid reflux is acid reflux, and he treats everyone's acid reflux the same way, when the real culprit could be any one of these other things. And you're left taking those chalky antacids and prescription pills that could have been very dangerous in the long term without ever knowing what's really causing the problem to begin with. But it's not your doctor's fault for treating these symptoms. You see, conventional medicine only trains doctors to identify a disease once it's already developed, and then render a diagnosis, not to seek the actual cause of the symptoms, which is what the recent developments in the science of chronic symptom detection are now providing. So unless your doctor takes the initiative to explore the relationship of your symptoms, any symptoms, to disease or aging, he or she is limited to what they've been taught. And the way they've been taught is to do X procedure or administer X drug when you complain of X symptom. It's really not his or her fault. That's what they've been taught. With today's tools, however, some of which I'm going to share with you today, we look at the nature of chronic symptoms or disease and pinpoint its source in a way that conventional medicine simply can't and actually doesn't. And once we know the source, the root cause, then we can treat that instead of the symptoms. That's why so many of my patients are able to see the results that they have seen after having been everywhere and seen everyone. Now, in my own practice, over many years, I've pretty much nearly seen 9 out of every 10 sufferers get some improvement in their chronic symptom over a 90-day period, a 3-month period, and often a 90% reduction over the next several months. And these symptoms they've been living with for many, many, many years. And it's all because we're not treating the symptom, but we're identifying the real underlying culprit, the cause.
Yeah, that is so important. Personally, I've got friends and family members that have just in this past year that have been misdiagnosed with different things. My brother was misdiagnosed with Barley-O syndrome, and now they think he has TMJ, but he still has some chronic things going on. And I actually need to talk to you about him after this to get him hooked up with what we're talking about here. But another thing too, my sister-in-law, her daughter was fighting UTIs, and they thought they were UTIs, but they misdiagnosed her, and they were giving her antibiotics that were just making it worse. And so they finally, after going to some alternative diagnostic tools and a different, outside of the traditional medical system, they finally found out what was wrong with her. So, but that's just so key about finding out what's really causing this thing. I heard an analogy that if your car has the service engine soon light come on, you don't take it to a mechanic, or if you take it to a mechanic, they're not going to stick a piece of black tape over it and say, there you go, your problem is gone, it's all fine. Well, that's kind of what medications are doing, or covering up symptoms, and but they're really not causing the problem, or later on down the road you might have a big breakdown or something like that. So
yeah, that's a great analogy, Joe. Let me give you another way of looking at this. Our bodies are actually a lot like our cars. They're designed to run for a long time if you maintain them properly. And like the warning lights in our cars, our bodies have warning signals when something goes wrong, and they're in the form of symptoms. Consider that your symptoms are your body's cry for help, a way of communicating that something is out of whack. And the traditional approach to treating chronic symptoms with test after test, drugs, and other traditional means is like disconnecting the warning signal on your car's dash. It silences the distracting noise, but it does nothing to correct what's really wrong.
Yeah, that's so true. So let's shift over and talk about the alternative approaches and some of your work in this field. I know from my own experience working with you and what you've done for many other patients that you're looking at chronic symptoms and disease in a way that no one else is looking at it. So tell us how you've been so effective at helping sufferers eliminate their symptoms and getting them off costly and addictive medications.
Early on in my career, I was faced with a dilemma, and that dilemma was that I would see two people with exactly the same symptoms for entirely different reasons. And applying what was conventional or standard of care to both of them based on symptoms, one would improve or recover, and the other would respond not at all. This was a big question for me, and this is really what got me searching for the nature of symptoms and how they originate. And so as I read through the literature, I evaluated more people, I realized that something was missing. So I had to decide if I were going to be successful at this, I needed to start looking at things nobody else was looking at in ways that nobody else was looking at them. And so I stumbled upon some research being done by NASA and the Apollo astronauts at the time, and realized that they had all the sophisticated technology, none of which was available to the general public at this point. But they were looking for early deviations from normal in the biochemistry of the Apollo astronauts that would suggest an imbalance or a deficiency that could eventually lead to symptoms and problems while the astronauts were off of the planet. And so looking at the research NASA was producing at that time, I started doing the same thing by hand. I would take samples of urine and saliva and even spin blood, and I would titrate them with chemicals and do calculations by hand because there were no personal computers at that point. And we were actually doing the same thing. I was doing it with my patients, they were doing it with the astronauts. And what I realized is that there were various influences, in fact, three major influences that caused or contributed to the development of symptoms in my patient base. These I called the three realms. These three realms comprise the human matrix. And these three realms basically are the physical realm, the biochemical realm, and the psychological or emotional realm, which I call the virtual realm. And I realized that an imbalance or a deficiency in any one of these three realms could cause symptoms in any one of the other realms. And so I began to use the matrix assessment, the assessment of the human matrix, the three influences, as part of my evaluation, and realized that this is where I could embrace that 20% of the people that weren't getting results or that weren't responding to conventional treatments. Now, taking all of these factors and facts into consideration, I realized how important it was to put it into a well-coordinated system that was predictable and precise enough so that I could be consistent not only in my evaluations, but with my recommendations for my patients. Now, that's how we arrived at the development of the matrix assessment profile. So the map is an assessment of the human matrix from all of these different perspectives or influences. Now, basically, the map is a home-based biological evaluation that through the analysis of your saliva and urine by our lab, we're able to pinpoint and isolate what's the root cause of your chronic unresolved symptoms. The map even gives you a roadmap of how to correct those imbalances and deficiency, and it basically shows you through a series of colorful charts and graphs where these symptoms are originating from and what you need to do to focus on to fix the problem. And you can do the test right from your own home.
Yeah, Dr. D, I know that you're going to go into a bit more detail about the MAPS evaluation process, but let me first share with everyone listening that I was pretty blown away with what I discovered about my own health and about what was at the root of a few symptoms that I was experiencing. Now, as you know, I went through the MAP process myself, and I had some levels that were out of whack. My lymphatic and circulatory system indicators were in the red zone, which means there was a problem. And I also had something going on with my kidney and interstitium. And so you suggested I go on a 30-day detox program, among other things. So I did that. And afterwards, we retested. The new results they showed that all of these levels had normalized. And I felt a lot more energetic, which, makes sense. And it was also interesting to see what my biological age was. It showed me 5 years older than my actual age. So that was a bit concerning and motivational for me. I know that some people who've taken the MAP have shown their biological age to be over 50 years greater than their actual age, which can really be shocking. And another thing that I was struggling with before we did this was restless leg syndrome. I would be laying in bed at night trying to fall asleep, and I just could not keep my leg. I mean, I felt like I had to move my legs, and they felt really hot. And so when I told you that, you quickly identified that there was a magnesium deficiency showing up, and so I took some measures to boost my magnesium levels, and sure enough, my restless leg syndrome went away almost immediately. I mean, within like hours. So that was really cool. So overall, from my own experience with the MAP and the recommendations that you gave me, I can personally give you a big thumbs up, which is obviously why I'm here today doing this video.
Yeah, you mentioned a number of very important things that were actually present in your profile, were actually exhibiting themselves as symptoms, and actually we got quite dramatic results with you in a very short period of time. So I want to thank you for sharing that, because it's important that people understand that this isn't a product that you and I decided to sell. This is something that's very real, and it's very important, and it's very significant, and real people are getting real results, and I thank you for sharing that testimonial with our folks.
Yeah, I'm glad you could clarify that. And so let me ask you, could you share a couple of other situations where the map has been effective at getting to the root cause of someone's symptoms?
Oh, absolutely. First off, I see such a wide range of people suffering from different symptoms, and they're all suffering from symptoms for the same reason. They're suffering from an imbalance or a deficiency from one of the three influences I spoke about earlier. So, to give you an example, I worked recently with an Olympic coach for the track and field team who was diagnosed as diabetic. He was 370 pounds.
Mm.
He was completely out of shape. He had no energy. His legs were swollen beyond belief. And he asked me if he could take this evaluation because nothing else seemed to be working for him at that time. So I ran his fluids, his physiological age, his calendar age was 60 years old. When we ran the fluids and I got his biological age, it was 98 years old. Okay? So I introduced a protocol specific to his concerns and to his test results. And then over a period of 3 months, he lost 40 pounds. He was off insulin completely. We were supporting it with some biological nutraceuticals. And he was sleeping through the night. He had more energy than he's had in years. And he was able to actually go out and participate in the pre-Olympic trials with the individuals that have been selected as potential candidates to in the upcoming Olympics. So now let's look at actual sufferers of acid reflux and what the MAP will do for them. If you're an acid reflux sufferer, you already know about the pain and the reliance to these chalky antacids and prescription medications. You know about the side effects, but what you don't know about is what the potential causes of acid reflux could actually be. So let me take a brief moment to just describe two of the more common scenarios associated with acid reflux. In order for you to really understand this phenomenon, one of the things you really need to know is that the stomach itself is a pressure organ, meaning that it doesn't just automatically begin secreting acid in between meals or when you eat. It releases hydrochloric acid in response to the pressure from the existence of the food that you eat. So why, if you eat food and the pressure receptors are triggered, do you experience hyperacidity or acid reflux if this is the natural design of the organ? Well, here's part of the reason. One is that the cells in the stomach, called the parietal cells, that secrete the hydrochloric acid, don't have enough of the raw materials to produce sufficient acid after you've eaten, and therefore that undigested food sits in the stomach and it putrefies into an acidic waste product, causing you to experience acid reflux. This is one of the things that will stand out very clearly if this is the source of your symptoms within the context of the matrix assessment profile. Now, a second very common phenomenon that creates exactly the same scenario is that there's some kind of pressure on the stomach prior to you eating, which causes the pressure receptors to trigger the parietal cells to secrete hydrochloric acid when there is no food in the stomach, therefore giving you the symptoms of acid reflux in between the meals, in addition to creating the phenomenon I just described, that when you do eat a meal, there's not sufficient hydrochloric acid left over to completely digest the food. The undigested food putrefies into an acidic waste product, and that acidic waste product then presents itself as the symptoms of acid reflux. So these are two very unique phenomena that show up very clearly in the matrix assessment profile and the evaluation associated with it. And this is how we look at, and this is how this This approach is unique compared to what you're typically seeing with traditional lab work done by your doctor, because all we're doing is looking at things that nobody else is looking at in ways that nobody else is looking at them. Now, to make matters even worse, there's one additional side effect, and that is that it causes your true biological age to become accelerated. That means the rate at which the cells in your body age is accelerated compared to your actual calendar years in age in the presence of prolonged exposure to acid reflux.
Dr. D, what are the typical results that most MAP users experience, and over what period of time?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people want to know before they get involved in something like this. And here's what I tell patients who often ask the same question. First off, the MAP results vary, so there's no such thing as typical results. And that's because everyone's biology and biochemistry is different. But I will tell you that 90% of my patients will see some improvement in their level of symptoms in the first 30 days, and quite often a 90% reduction in their overall symptoms in the next several months.
Good. So, Dr. D, can you share a little bit about the MAP testing process and what people who go through this process actually experience with you and your team?
Absolutely. But first off, let me tell you that we've put thousands of patients through the MAP process, including over 700 of your clients. And the emails and letters we get from people who are experiencing health and life and vitality in a whole new way is truly remarkable. So let me tell you about the evaluation process. First, we send you a confidential home-based testing kit with specific instructions on what to do. We'll send biological sample containers and instructions on how to ship your kit back. There's also a confidential questionnaire about your symptoms and your health history, and we use this information to map out a series of individualized protocols to start working towards reducing these symptoms. We'll also provide educational material about the entire testing process. And by the way, we only need a saliva and urine sample, as the specialized nature of our new software predicts within 1% accuracy the blood results. The report of your results, which is incredibly thorough, come in colorful charts and graphs and analyze the health of every major system and organ in your body, and specifically point to what the primary contributor is to why you feel the way you do and your symptoms. The report will show you where the imbalance exists in your biochemistry that are contributing to accelerated biological aging, your true age, the age your body thinks it is. Also, the report will even calculate your biological age. The report even has a terrorist alert system that points to the obstacles in your biology and will show you the warning signs of disease beforehand so you can focus on prevention. It is by far the most comprehensive look at your biochemistry that you've ever experienced in just one simple home-based test. Then, as part of the MAPS evaluation process, we'll also send you a summary of all of these reports and a series of recommendations, a roadmap as to what you need to start doing right away and over the next 12 weeks or so, including any supplements, lifestyle changes, diet changes, exercise, etc. And we'll even guide you through the process, meaning we'll work right along with you. Many clients also decide to opt in for a private consultation with me to discuss the results and their roadmap. So we make that available as well to order separately. And we also have a weekly Ask Dr. D call where clients can jump on a call, ask me a question about their results and their roadmap. It's a pretty comprehensive experience. My team and me are really focused on creating an experience for our clients that far exceeds the way they've been treated by any primary care physician.
Well, that's great. That's amazing, Dr. D. And, you know, as far as working with you and your team, it's just been a pleasure. Everything about it, we've enjoyed and appreciated working with you. Top-notch experience. You guys really over-deliver in every way, and so I feel just more than comfortable recommending you, your team, and the map. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
so before we get to the investment in the map process, can you tell us who the map is for and who the map is not for?
Yeah, you know, that's as important as anything else that we've discussed during this conversation. The map is for people who have been suffering from any number of chronic or acute unsolvable symptoms from chronic pain, inflammation, arthritis, diabetes, acid reflux, high blood pressure, headaches, achy joints, low energy, sleep disorders, fatigue, weight gain, cholesterol, anxiety, depression, even things like Parkinson's and cancer, who want to get to the root cause of their symptoms and why they feel the way they do. Our best clients have typically been worked over by the traditional healthcare system and are frustrated that after the traditional route of drugs and various tests and various procedures, they still have no answers. But equally important is the people who the map is not for. Because of the highly interactive nature of the map process, we ask our clients to be engaged with me and my team, that you communicate with us along the way and tell us what's working, what's not working, and that you take a very active and responsible role in getting yourself better and feeling great again. We have no problem reimbursing someone for their investment who doesn't fit this criteria, as there are just too many people we want to serve who do take on that level of responsibility.
Okay, Dr. D. So, what is the investment in the matrix assessment profile evaluation process?
Well, Joe, I've already said that we've put over 7,000 people through the MAP process in the past 15 years. And many of them have been Barton subscribers. But let me also add that we've had CEOs, Olympic and professional athletes, celebrities, and people from all walks and all corners of life around the world participate in the MAP experience. Every day, my team and me receive emails, letters, and gifts of gratitude from people who have tried everything, been everywhere, and seen everyone without any permanent relief from their symptoms. They share their stories of how their experience with the MAP has gotten them back to a quality of life that many had never thought was possible, and how so many of them had been misdiagnosed, mistreated, and oftentimes just ignored by the traditional medical community that has relied on prescription pills and other needless procedures costing tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills. Now, I've already shared with you the three-step testing process, so now let me tell you what you'll receive when you take the next step and make the investment in the matrix assessment profile experience. When you order your map today, you'll receive a home testing kit with easy to follow instructions, biological sample containers, and remember, no blood is required, a confidential history questionnaire, so we have some history on your symptoms, detailed instructions, and safe biohazard packaging for shipping your samples back to our lab. And after our team processes your fluids, we're going to send back to you your map results in a full report with colorful charts and graphs that show exactly where the imbalances exist that are at the root cause of your chronic symptoms. You'll get an evaluation of every gland, organ, and tissue that makes up your biology, including MAP's Terror Alert system, which reveals the warning signs of disease before it happens. You'll get a calculation of your true biological age, which is a measure of the rate at which the cells in your body are aging. You'll get easy to understand instructions on how to interpret your results. We'll even send you a summary document of all your results and what they mean. You're also going to get a personalized roadmap on what to do with all of this information. In the roadmap, I'll make recommendations specific to you on what you should be doing over the next several months to fix the imbalances and reduce and ultimately eliminate your symptoms, including a suggested detoxification program to clean up and detoxify your biochemistry. The roadmap will give you specific recommendations for a support program to strengthen the system that is contributing to your symptoms. The MAPS roadmap will even tell you how to maintain the balance in your system as you start to feel better and return your body to a healthy state. You'll know exactly what supplements you should be taking, what lifestyle changes you should adopt, a suggested diet, and even how to reduce your true biological age. You'll get access to our regular live Ask Dr. D call, where you can jump on a call with me and ask questions about your map and your map results, or about the roadmap we've laid out for you. Or you're even going to get my 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy with any part of the map experience. And I'll also tell you that if you were going to go and have the type of comprehensive laboratory work done that the map will provide in one simple test, you're looking at several $100s, perhaps $1,000 just in diagnostic testing alone. And if you were to add the cost of all of the various tests for specific tendencies that the MAP evaluation does, you're adding another several $1,000s to that. And this doesn't even include the cost of any treatment program to fix the imbalances. We know what these things cost. We've done the research. The MAP is going to give you one of the most comprehensive understandings of your inner health you have ever experienced, and tell you why you feel the way you do at a fraction of the cost of what traditional lab work will cost. Now, Joe, our organizations have worked very close together to serve the Barton community, and we truly value that relationship. And that's why it's important to us that we offer something truly special to Barton subscribers who are here today. So, if you order the MAP today, we'll send you the home testing kit and the entire sequence of reports showing the root cause of your chronic symptoms and the roadmap for relief, all for only 2 payments of $97. All you need to do is click the Add to Cart button below, and we'll get your MAP evaluation kit right out to you. I should also advise everyone that we get a lot of people requesting MAP kits, and our facility only has the capacity to process a certain number of MAP evaluations at any given time. So even if you're just sitting on the fence and unsure, I strongly urge you to take advantage of this offer and the money-back guarantee right now by clicking the Add to Cart button right here.
That's really a phenomenal offer, Dr. D. And I know that for people who are kind of on the sidelines, wondering if this is for them or not, the money-back guarantee is very attractive.
Well, yes, and we're quite proud of the fact that out of the thousands of kits we've shipped since the time of this interview, we've only had about 18 people ask for their money back, and it's always because of a mismatched expectation. So we're very careful to set the right expectations right up front. Bottom line is that if our clients aren't happy, they should get their money back, and we're very serious about that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's really no risk at all, and the upside could literally save someone's life. I highly recommend anyone listening to this call should take action right away today, because there's really no good reason to continue suffering through chronic pain and going to countless doctors who over-medicate and misdiagnose things when we can take care of things with this MAP. This truly is a great offer, and I highly recommend it to all of my friends and family and subscribers, anybody who's suffering with any sort of health problems. So Dr. D, I just want to personally thank you again for sharing with the Barton Publishing family and all of our subscribers the enormous contribution that you've made to the lives of so many people with your work.
Well, Joe, thank you. I couldn't do it without you. It's been a real pleasure working with you. And it's actually been a joy. Every time I get an email from you or somebody on your subscriber list or any part of your family, it's always positive and upbeat and proactive. So I thank you so much for the privilege of allowing me to work with you and your team.
Yeah, it's great. We really appreciate it. So, and to the folks listening to the interview too, my hope is that if you are suffering from any chronic symptom or a number of symptoms and you've been everywhere, tried everything, and seen everyone, that you'll consider the MAP as the alternative to understanding why you feel the way you do and what you can do about it. I'm Joe Barton, and thank you very much for being with us today.